Thanks, George. Well, it wasn't much this time.
Well, I think I see something we'll have to look at next week.
Yeah, right, right.
Okay, I'm going to call it to order.
Arnold,
Here.
Beckwith,
Here.
Farcapisi. Here. Flores, absent. Cozzini,
Here.
Hamilton. Here. Sutton.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, pledge. The Warren Newport Public Library District provides the community with access to information, kindles the imagination of children and adults, and supports lifelong learning. Would anyone like to speak in public comment? Any correspondence?
No.
Okay. Anyone want to take anything off the consent agenda?
I do.
Okay.
I would like to take the minutes of the regular meeting from May 17th off the agenda because I was not there.
Okay. You want to make the motion for the rest?
I move to pass the consent agenda with the exclusion of item A.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Okay, what's your removed item? What do you want to do about the removed item?
Oh, I just want a separate vote so that I can abstain because I wasn't there.
Oh, that's Ryan's and my fault. Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so let's see. Who
I
would like
make a
to?
motion to approve the minutes of the
Yeah, who would
regular
like to make
May
that motion?
17th meeting. I'm making the motion.
Oh, you're going to make the motion. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll second that. Let's have the roll call then.
Arnold,
Aye.
Farcapisi,
Abstain.
Flores,
Oh, she's coming. Here she is.
we're making a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting. Flores,
Aye.
Wait a minute.
She was also
Trustees absent, Farcapisi and Flores. So
Right,
you have
she
to
has to
abstain.
abstain
You have to
also.
abstain.
Oh, okay.
So say abstain.
Abstain.
That's Ryan's and my fault, sorry. We usually catch
Cozzini,
that.
Aye.
Hamilton,
Aye.
Sutton,
Aye.
and Beckwith.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Okay. President's report, page 19. Questions, comments, concerns? Oh, yes, I have some mistakes in here. One is that Ryan and my meeting lasted 30 minutes on June 1st, and then I worked after committee of the whole, came to committee of the whole and worked for 3 hours. I don't know how that happened. That was an editing thing on my part. Anything else on that? All right. Other trustees?
I'll remind everyone that there is a election coming up June 28th. And one of the things on that election, for anyone in the community that might be listening or watching later, is the referendum that our high school board has put on. I encourage everyone to please, take a look at what the facts are in the case. I certainly support it myself and encourage others to as well.
Also, you can early vote at the village hall, which I did today, so it's very easy in and out.
Anyone else?
Or across Lake County.
Yes, that's true, too.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to make a report? Okay, Ryan.
Yeah, so I just, a couple of things from the report. First of all, I wanted to update everyone on summer reading. So summer reading, we are at 346, 100,000 minutes. So we're 34% of the way to our million-minute goal. So that's exciting. We have 48 days left, so we've averaged just over 16,000 minutes a day in our community each day. And so if we even go down to 13.6, we'll reach 1 million minutes. So I did some math. I'm curious. Okay, so we're at a good pace. That's great. And then the other thing I wanted to mention that's in the report has to do with just because I think I might get asked about it, the patron suspension, yeah, that's not a typo. We had a patron that has not returned, but we did catch them on camera. I guess they could make it to the bathroom in time, so that they did defecate into the city room garbage can. So if and when they return, we will issue them a 30-day suspension. We discussed it because we weren't sure. It's unusual. It's never happened anywhere I've been before. So, and I don't know the circumstances exactly, but you think if that would have happened, someone would have discreetly informed staff that, I'm sorry, I couldn't make it, or not. But so anyway, it was an unusual situation. So I think that's how we'll handle it. And obviously, if it's, I don't know if this person's going to come back. So.
Yeah.
Other thing I wanted to mention is that there's no memo from our attorney about it, but there was a law that was signed into, the governor signed. It's this House Bill 5283, Library Board Vacancies and Treasurer Appointments. So there are a couple of pieces to this. Number one, now library districts and municipal libraries are required to fill vacancies on the board within 90 days of the vacancy. There's that language forthwith, we must fill the vacancies forthwith, but that language has changed. And I think that has to do with the Niles, Maine situation. For those of you that may or may not know, I believe it's still, unless things have changed, it's a divided board, 3-3, and they're having troubles filling the vacancy because they can't agree. So this law is supposed to force the hand, and if we are not able to fill a vacancy, it goes to the state, authorizes the state librarian to appoint someone to fill the vacancy. So I think we typically fill the vacancies within 90 days, but it's something we'll want to be aware of, and when there is a vacancy, we'll want to move swiftly to.
And do we need to edit a policy to have that,
I'm sure.
that law put into it?
Aren't we planning to leave the deputy director position vacant for the next year?
Board.
No,
Oh, this is just for board.
This is for the board.
Oh, board, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Right. So it's within, so board vacancies within 90 days.
90 or 60 days?
90 days,
90 days.
yeah. The state librarian will have 60 days after the board's failure to appoint someone to fill the vacancy. So,
On the bylaws, it says 60, so I think we're fine.
we'll take a look.
Okay.
If it's 60, we haven't been doing it necessarily for 60 days, so.
Yeah.
And this is something unique. Apparently, this is a carryover from park districts, and this is not an issue that we have, but the bill also provides that a board of trustees of a library district can choose to appoint a treasurer rather than elect one from among the trustees. Which, if you think about it, if there is I think this is, I'm not sure where this comes from. I think someone saw that it was in park district law, and they decided the library should have it. And it wasn't something that ILA advocated for, it's just something that got signed into law. So in the event, decades in the future, when we don't have a treasurer on our board, a CPA, if the board wanted to do that, they could appoint a citizen member to act as treasurer. So.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Okay. Any other comments, concerns, questions about Ryan's report?
Just one comment on our library reading program, Ryan. I will point out, I was a little late to the game in signing up, and I can tell you that the library is already out of free books to give to people who sign up. So we definitely have a lot of participation going.
That's true.
Yeah, it's really popped this year. It's very clear that a lot of people are participating, and if you haven't signed up yet, please do, and you can go back to June 1st and log your books. That's not cheating.
I was just going to ask you that, because all last week, when we were home and doing nothing because of COVID, I read like 3 books. But I'm not on yet, so I've
Yeah.
got to get back on.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily have to, you can put the details of what you've read, but you can also be very vague and just put your minutes in if you'd like. You don't have to put in
I know,
every
exactly.
title. So if you read the paper every morning for 30 minutes, you can
Okay,
just
I
add
know.
those
It
minutes.
doesn't have to be books from the library?
It doesn't have to be
No,
books
any
from the
kind of
library.
reading.
Professional
Could be reading your board
journals,
packet.
financial,
Yeah, the board
monthly
packet.
financial reports, budget narratives, it's all in.
Can I read the master tax guide?
Yeah.
Yes.
That counts.
That, I think you should be able to log in double the minutes for that. Okay, anything else about the report then? All right, budget.
Okay, so, you should have a budget narrative, a working budget summary, and then a sheet called projected expenditures, which you can see what was budgeted last fiscal year compared to what's proposed in the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. If you look at, and I'll walk you through the budget narrative and point out some things that we maybe haven't talked about in great detail or at all, so you're aware. And keep in mind that ideally the board will pass this budget tonight if there are things, like for example, we're going to talk about some capital projects. Those are things that have to go out to bid, like we were talking about the rooftop units. So those things will come back to the board. You'll get a chance to vote on those in the future. So if you have, I'm sure you have questions about capital projects. And I don't necessarily all the answers tonight. I'll do my best, but that's something to keep in mind when you're considering whether to adopt a budget or not. So I'm happy to report that compared to our last meeting, it's not a balanced budget, but if you take away the major capital projects funded out of the Special Reserve Fund, it would be balanced. If we didn't have debt, notice it would be a balanced budget, but we do, of course. So, or almost balanced anyway. So, how did we get here? Well, as we go through the narrative, I'll point out how we were able to close the gap. So we're not going to read through this page by page, but I do want to point out some things if you'll indulge me. So does everyone have a copy of the budget narrative? You should. Mm-hmm. And I'll just point out some things, and then obviously there'll be plenty of time for questions. If we start with page 2, real estate taxes. Those of you that have looked at this report before might notice something new. It's not even a formal fund. It's this recaptured funds. This is something that apparently has always been in our property tax levy, but we never see it. But Lake County this year decided to pull it out. This is not money that could be abated. This is unexpected, if you look at your footnote, unexpected additional money paid for by every taxpayer other than those who successfully appealed to the Property Tax Appeal Board. And so this year, they wanted to, I guess the Lake County Treasurer wanted it to be pulled out so you could see it. And so that goes into the corporate fund. And that's money that we hadn't accounted for in the last budget version you saw. So that's $22,479 of revenue. So I just wanted to point that out because that's something that's a little bit unique. Money that's always been there, but apparently it was included in the corporate budget, but Lake County changed the way they're doing things. On page 3, I'm actually proposing a reduction in copier, printer, and fax revenue. It was $15,000 the last time we looked at it. I got it down to $8,000, and the reason for that is as we were looking at our copy service, printing service, fax service, we realized that we essentially charge, with color copies, we charge double than all area libraries, and then with black and white copies, we charge 15 cents, other libraries are 10 cents. So staff and I feel that that's a burden we're passing along to our patrons that utilize that service. A lot of these individuals are low-income individuals, so it's in the budget that way. The policy would need to change, so this is something the board can still make a decision on in the future. So if you disagree with that and feel we need the revenue, the board will have that option. You could certainly have it tonight, we can change it tonight, but I would advise leaving it as such, and then when we talk about the policy, that can be a discussion. Because I know it's brand new, I know I haven't brought it before you, I'm not trying to sneak it in. I just wanted to.
Do those lower fees cover our costs?
Yeah, they cover our cost, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. But they do obviously, reduce revenue by $7,000.
And
Wait.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
what did you say the color copies were and now?
50 cents, and they would be, we want to advocate changing them to 25 cents.
25,
Yeah.
okay.
And the same with the fax fees. So the faxes, I think international would go down to $2, and then, or maybe no, excuse me. Is it?
Right now, $2 international and $1 for US and Canada.
Right, so we would want to go down to 50 cents and
50 cents
$1.
and $1.
Yeah, to be in line with what the other libraries on charge, so. Gifts. The Friends have indicated that they're able to go back to pre-pandemic donation levels. So that increases. That was in the budget last version you saw, but I wanted to point it out. I don't think I mentioned it last time.
Still, $35,000 is incredible, I think.
Yeah, it is
I'm
incredible.
sorry, I was stunned when I saw that amount.
And then, under expendable trust, the revenue, that 14.5, that we talked about wanting to turn the 50th anniversary into a revenue generator. And so we are going to do, once again, the limited edition 50th anniversary library cards. We did that for the 45th anniversary, and I anticipate that will earn us $4,500. Community-wide public chair art fundraiser. So when I was in Arlington, Massachusetts, there was something called Cheerful Where You Sit, which was a fundraiser for the Arlington Arts Council. And the idea behind Cheerful Where You Sit is you take an old chair and you decorate it to a theme. These chairs are displayed publicly around the community, and then people bid on these chairs, and you pay to enter. So, based on my experience with that, and the idea behind ours wouldn't be so much about public art, although it would be that too. I see this as a diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative along with the fundraiser, because you think about a chair, whether it's the wooden chairs we looked at a couple weeks ago, whether it's these plastic chairs, they all have the same function, right? Just like people, they're all the same. They all kind of do the same thing. They all have a lot of the same core beliefs and values, but they're different. Different colors, different shapes, different materials. And it would be a way for us to celebrate our community's diversity. So it's a fundraiser, it's an EDI initiative, it's a public art initiative. And I think it would be a nice event for us to do as part of the 50th. And then an in-person fundraising event. I don't think this would be a repeat of Bingo and Books necessarily, but it would be some kind of event to celebrate our 50th anniversary and have some elements of a fundraiser like raffle baskets and that type of thing. So that's more revenue that's added to the. And this was also once again in the budget a couple weeks ago, not something I've added 2 weeks, just something I didn't get a chance to mention last
Do we
time.
have a goal of 50 chairs?
Oh, at least. I mean, I think we
Love
can.
it.
I think the sky's the limit. But yeah, we need to set a goal. Yeah. So I think 50 is probably good. And I know I've spoken to a couple people about this, and I think there are a lot of people excited about it, about this idea, because the idea would be maybe $20 to enter a chair. That's what we did in Arlington, and that's that's what I based my math off of for this. And then obviously the library would enter some, anyone can enter some, and then the idea is we would partner with local businesses, hopefully they would have their own chairs, and they'd be displayed throughout the community. So it would be also
That's
just a
great
community
idea.
event.
I love it.
So
Book clubs, etc.
Yeah. I'm very excited about that. Moving on, developer donations on page 4. I was reflecting only the occupancy permits that kind of trickle in, but I did reach out to the village because we wanted to be very conservative with when we could expect the Milwaukee Avenue Apartments money. And the village anticipates confidently that we will receive a third of that revenue in the next fiscal year. So that I put that in the budget. So that is an overview of income. And then where was most of the work done in terms of getting the budget more balanced is its expenditures. So if you go to page 5, you look at our payroll, even with the 5% increase, our overall payroll only increases 0.31%. That is a combination of some positions being freezed, part of the year. Obviously, we've lost some staff that we think we can replace staff with lower compensation. And with this budget, it restores the deputy director position, at least as of August. I think I left a month out because I anticipate we'll have it filled. So I thought about it. I did not want to lose that deputy director position for all kinds of reasons. But we do have at least until probably late fall a freeze on a couple of our vacant outreach positions to make the numbers work. So, and in the meantime, and I'll talk a little bit about that later, what we've done with outreach operations. But we have essentially divvied these responsibilities up between different departments. So we think we have a plan, at least in the interim moving forward, until we're eventually able to do something more with restoring those outreach positions. And then the deputy director, when they come in, they will have oversight of outreach. So,
What percentage of the total budget is personnel?
what percentage? It is 54%. It's actually down from last year.
Okay, good, because I think our max is allowed is 55.
Yeah, we were at 59% last year, now we're down to 54% of the expenditures.
Isn't in our policy somewhere that we're not supposed to exceed 55?
There is, but I don't recall the exact number.
It might be, though, I'm not sure if that, in our policy, I'd have to look at it, is that minus debt and capital projects, or is that the total budget? I'm not
George,
sure.
you're good at looking up things in the
I
policy.
have no devices today.
No,
What?
But we can look at that later, but in
You're
any
not
event.
twitching or anything.
It's a no devices aid? Oh,
This is a first?
boy. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
Moving, and I'm passing over some things. If there's anything I'm missing you want to go back and talk about, obviously we can. On page 6, professional services, even though this number is up quite a bit, there are a couple of reasons it's up. It's still down from when you looked at the budget a couple of weeks ago, because we did cut out a lot of that consulting money that we had for salary compensation, for job descriptions, and for strategic plan. A lot of this has to do with the IT or external IT vendor. If you think about it, just a few years ago, we had 3 staff members that were enrolled in IT, and we're down to Smriti, who's awesome, and between her doing an amazing job of oversight of the IT department, working with our vendor OSG, we're doing well here. But we did obviously increase the money we're spending for IT consulting due to the loss of the position. And then we are, I reallocated, I was able to keep in $10,000 for a new capital needs assessment. Although you could argue that after the study we did on our climate control system in the building, that we could delay that for a year. And I'm okay with that, but I thought that it was a priority of the board to do this capital needs assessment, so I put it back.
Have we checked with our auditors? Have we gotten the engagement letter? I don't remember signing it for this coming audit. Because I heard from colleagues of firms that public accountants are really hiking up their fees this year.
Oh, I think we're locked in with our current agreement.
I think we had like a 3-year
Yeah.
engagement letter.
Yeah, they did they were here for field work last week already,
Okay.
so, yeah, but I don't have a copy of the engagement letter.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
but,
do we normally sign that every year?
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I don't think I've signed one
Yeah.
lately.
Yeah,
so-
I'll look into it. But I don't think that's going to be a issue for us, at least this year, but
It
I'm
will
sure.
be next year.
I bet. Yeah, everything's going up. I mean, gosh, let's see.
Moving on.
Moving on, you'll see some things. Okay, page 7, printing publications.
Excellent.
Printing cost projected to rise 22.25%. That adds a lot to with paper. Paper is a precious
crazy.
commodity suddenly.
Yeah.
So it's really expensive.
What
So the other thing, though, that brings this cost up a little bit is some board members might recall, there is this desire to, at least with some members of our Friends group, and the Friends indicated that they would be willing to donate some money for this purpose, for us to be in the Keeping Posted newsletter that comes out late summer. So the village puts out, if you live in the village of Gurnee, there's something called Keeping Posted. It is I believe, quarterly newsletter that the village puts out, and the late summer edition features all the intergovernmental partners. So it features the 3 school districts, it features the township, park district, but noticeably absent, at least since my time here, has been the library. And I think in the past, I've discussed this with the board, we thought, we've already got our newsletter that goes out to beyond the village, and that's an additional cost. I think it's $2,200, but I think that there have been some people that have advocated for us to be part of it, because it looks odd that we're not part of that, honestly. So that's in the budget right now. Let's see. Page 8, materials. Materials are essentially flat. What we have done is we've reallocated some money in materials. So we've taken away money from AV materials. We did add Wonder Books, which is a material that would replace our youth kits. We talked about that. And then we've moved money into electronic databases, specifically for the Roku devices. And Roku devices are under electronic databases because if you think about it, the expense isn't so much the devices. They're pretty cheap, but it's going to be those subscriptions that we'll get with the devices. So the idea, once again, is that if you don't have a subscription to Disney Plus and you want to binge watch the new Obi-Wan Kenobi show or the new Marvel show that's coming out, you don't have to subscribe. You come to the library, check out the Roku, hook it up with your TV, and binge watch those shows, and then return it, and you've saved yourself a subscription to that service. So that's the idea. Yeah, a lot of things that our patrons want that still do check out DVDs, we are not able to add, at least not in a timely manner, because if you think about a lot of the new series that come out, they're exclusive to these streaming platforms. I know that the network television still has their fair share of popular shows, but a lot of stuff is exclusive to Netflix. You think about a show like Stranger Things. I don't even know if we have any seasons of Stranger Things. We might have the first couple, but that's the idea behind that. On page 9, under Equipment, Furnishings, and Technology, we talk about our big capital projects coming out of the Special Reserve Fund. So, what we believe we need to do, and I've read the final report, and Kevin and I have discussed it. We have not had a chance to connect with the voltage engineer group that's done the report. But based on our correspondence with them, we believe we need to replace rooftop units 2 through 5 and 7 through 9, which was in our capital plan a couple of years out anyway. But they're in a state where it just, we could try to repair them, but those RTU units are in such a state that it would be throwing, good money in a problem that would maybe buy us a couple of years. So just in terms of the best value for our dollar, it seems like replacements are the way to go. Once again, if we, move forward in a couple of months and get more details on this project, we could pivot on that. But this is probably the worst case scenario, probably the likeliest scenario, honestly.
How many total are there?
How many? There are 14 rooftop units, I believe.
So we're doing 7 of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And Kevin was not able to be here tonight due to illness, so. But it's something that we'll talk about. Once again, we haven't had a chance to meet with the engineering group, like formally meet with them since they've done the report. We haven't had a chance to review it, and we've discussed it internally. This is not working, but I believe it's 14. The boiler replacement, this is something we've talked about for a couple of years. We had money in the budget this year to do replacement, but as we looked at it, we realized, okay, there's some, we want to get some more expertise on the best movement forward. This is the high end of things. You could replace it, but I think in terms of energy efficiency, the high efficiency replacement with the redundancy built in is probably the way to go, but we can continue, we can discuss that further. And then the garage and water service room heating and exhaust system replacement, that's not something that was even on my radar before we did the study. And but there are issues with us keeping the garage heated in the wintertime, and there's I guess there's a boiler in there that is quite old that needs replaced. So that's a pretty expensive cost, and once again we can talk about that. But and then moving on to IT projects we've talked about, the switch replacements, servers, access points, equipment for staff. So these are all things we've talked about early on in the budget process. Nothing new, other than these facilities projects were a little bit ambiguous a couple months before, and now we've got more clarity. And finally, I guess that's it. If you go to page 12, you'll see that our budget is quite higher than last year. Why? 2 reasons. The capital projects, which are more than double compared to last year, and then services and supplies increase in that. Whether it's not so much. I mean, there are a few things we're talking about adding, but a lot of that has to do with the rising costs and inflation. So, the personnel costs are down. Materials still in line with our policy. So that's the quick overview of the budget. So a little bit of the new information tonight, some of the stuff we've talked about for months. So, questions, comments, concerns? Things we didn't cover you wanted to discuss?
The rooftop units. There are 7 you're highlighting that we need to replace. What about the other, how many more are there?
7.
Oh, that we need to replace? I think a lot of them we will need to replace over
As you said,
time.
I'm just looking at the numbers, I'm counting 7.
Yeah.
And he said
There
there
were
were
14 total,
There's 14 total?
yeah.
How soon are we looking at replacing the other 14?
Well, some of them, it's a good question. Some of them we are going to repair, and some, in fact, some we're in the process of repairing in this year's budget,
Okay.
which should buy us some time. I think we're looking at repairing 3 right now for things that need to get done now. So, but I think even those ones we're repairing, I think within 3 to 5 year window, we'll have to replace. 'Cause that's out in the capital plan. You know, it was further out, but we were always scheduled to replace those units. So this is that. But the costs are a little bit more than when we did the capital needs assessment, just like everything else. So.
Within professional services, is this, so I know we have the other changes within IT, so is this the new baseline?
You mean in terms of what's budgeted now, will this be the new baseline moving forward?
Yeah, because I know we had like the changes with, so some came out of payroll, went into IT services. Because if I look at like 237 this year to last year, 130, I mean, that's a big change. Is that, but we wouldn't expect that big of a change next year.
No, it will not, no, it will not increase that much. No, I would expect this to be pretty flat next year compared, you know, based on what's in here. But the you know, IT consulting went up, you know, quite a bit. And I should mention too, that this is something we're still evaluating as well. You know, we have an agreement with them through March, and you know, really in the fall, we will assess, you know, is this model working for us? Do we need to go back to more of a model we had where we would want to hire personnel? So it's, you know, this is, you know, assuming that we continue with this model. But obviously, if those fees go down, then we'd have to, you know, add it back to personnel.
Yeah. And we don't see any favorability in payroll because of all of the other, like salary and.
What, I'm sorry?
So we picked up in professional services with moving some of the IT, right? But we don't see any favorability in payroll. Nothing came down.
Well, I mean, it is, you know, it's up 0.31% payroll. However, if you look at the project expenditure sheet, however, you know, there's also the 5% cost of living increase for
Yeah,
staff.
that's, yeah,
So,
that all offset that,
yeah.
any of those.
So it's, you know, all things considered, it did pretty well in that area. And honestly, that's going to be a pressure point moving forward, because we'll look at our salary compensation, and as I think everyone knows, the ability to attract and retain talent is a challenge, and we want to make sure that we're, you know, compensating staff fairly so we can retain them. But that's always a balancing act, because obviously we need to stay within our means, but we also don't want to lose staff to. And I don't think that I think our compensation based on other libraries, what I've seen is solid, but we may find some areas where we're underperforming compared to other libraries.
Anyone else? Questions? Okay, who would like to make the motion?
I move to pass the 2022-2023 fiscal year end budget as proposed.
I second.
Any further discussion? Let's have a roll call.
Flores,
Aye.
Arnold,
Aye.
Sutton,
Aye.
Hamilton,
Aye.
Kotsinis,
Aye.
Farkapisi,
Aye.
Beckwith,
Aye.
ayes have it.
Okay,
I mean,
Okay,
can
I'd
I-
like to just say,
Oh.
take a minute to thank Ryan and all the staff who worked so hard on this budget, as well as the board, for many discussions we've had over it, and, can't have everything, but, and I have the feeling that as hard as this budget season was, next year's will be even worse, so. but-
Maybe.
I'm
I'm gonna say that,
Let's
Um,
get Pollyanna.
And thanks also, Andrea, for everything that you do on the budget.
Absolutely.
For keeping us on the right path.
well, I appreciate you being engaged and asking good questions as well. It's only a team effort, and my great thanks to the staff. Even though Noreen's not here, for pulling all of her those public service department budgets together. Kevin has a lot to do with the budget with all the building capital projects, and it's been tough for facilities. Smriti came into it a little bit late, but she was able to quickly come up to speed and did a lot to contribute to the budget. And Doug obviously is a huge asset to this budget process. So it's a great team effort, and yeah, I appreciate everyone's help.
We're a model for every budget in government.
Say that louder.
Okay, semi-annual review, if you just want to give a quick.
Excuse me. Yeah, George and I have signed off, and we'll be presenting that at the next January or July meeting, sorry.
Any questions about that?
Gina, I'll give you a copy.
Thank you.
Okay, 3020, Catherine.
Or is it Ryan?
But it's
Or is it me?
oh.
I'll let you two duke it out.
Well, I mean, I'm happy to discuss it. Let's see, page,
39.
39.
thank you.
I-
Just a, go ahead.
Well, I just thought that we were gonna discuss who is checking out,
Yeah,
get back to the board on,
the Wi-Fi hotspot.
Right, yeah, so that was the question, do we, and I asked, and I didn't think we could get this data, we cannot run a report to see who's checked out, exactly who's checked out the hotspots, but anecdotally, this is what I heard from Kathy Soakley, who's head of CERT. We have a group of patrons that check out hotspots and renew the hotspot and come in and change them out. So they're going through 3 renewals and coming in to return them, checking out a new one. In my opinion, it appears that most patrons checking out hotspots have checked them out before. Many of us ask, have you checked that hotspot before? Most often the answer is yes. We can also see this with the recurrence of names of people who have this item on hold. So I don't have firm data because we don't keep it, but anecdotally, that does seem to be the case, that that would go towards the case for extending our Wi-Fi hotspots to 21 days. I know that's not what you wanted, but
Is what you're saying that the same people keep checking them out over? So
Yeah.
we're providing this service for a very small amount of people? Or is
well, I think based on this anecdotal evidence that we have, at least some of the patrons that check them out are repeat customers, yes.
Yeah.
like constantly repeating customers? So they've always got one on hold, they return the new one, the old one, they get a new one.
Right.
So basically, we've replaced their internet.
I guess,
I think that's probably fair to
yeah.
assume that.
Yeah.
And how many hotspots do we have? And are people, how long do people who are not in that process? Because some people have learned how to work it. And those who just like, oh my God, my internet went out and I need to get this report out, or my child needs to finish their homework, can they get a hotspot?
Well, that's why, one of the reasons we pursued that emergency connectivity grant, so we have more, I mean, which didn't cost us anything,
So I don't hear the answer there.
I think
No,
it's hard,
so
it's
we
hard
have-
to tell.
So we have, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I think it would be hard to tell, because I know that I checked one out a couple months ago, and then like maybe 2 days ago, because I knew I was gonna be traveling, and
Yeah.
my cell for like, it says it's unlimited,
Was
but
it
it's not.
available when you
And I
needed it?
came and it was available, so I think it's probably just depends on when someone is returning one, right? And I think it's hard to know those exact numbers, but it was available
Could
for
we
me a
have
couple days ago.
Staff just keep track for a month and report back.
Well, a month won't do it,
No,
because then.
42 days.
Well,
Fine, then whatever cycle makes sense.
Well, whenever I ask and check, usually there are one or two available. So we usually tend to have one or two. But I've not done a log checking every day. We certainly could.
I mean, I'm not
But-
How many do we have?
personally in favor of providing someone's year-round internet. To me, these are stopgap measures, not permanent replacements, so they don't have to have Wi-Fi. I understand that it's a hardship for some people, but we can't be in the position of supplying, 10 families all the time with Wi-Fi while other people are waiting. Is that the purpose why we got them? Is that the purpose?
But if
What
there's
is our
typically
purpose with
a
these?
few
Some
left,
available.
then,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
if there's typically a few left, then
Yeah,
that's
But
what your
that- but we're
concern
paying
is
a lot
that
of
other
money for
people
them.
have them. I get that, but there's no way to know, I don't think.
we can know.
So I know that I
If they
could,
can afford it, though.
I would be able
No,
to look
that's not what
up,
I'm saying.
I know that Waukegan and North Chicago have like different broadband groups that I sit on. And with Waukegan, they're going out into the community to educate individuals about like getting the reduced internet. I don't, like I said, I would need to like look more into it because sometimes I skip those meetings because I work more around Lake. But I could get us that information because it's for anyone, right? So maybe it's something we can have on hand as well, like to maybe people don't know there are, or maybe they do know, right? But
Yeah,
I
mean,
could
I only
forward
just
that.
found out, like, so the internet at work went out, and they said you could use your Xfinity password. What? And apparently there's Xfinity passwords, hotspots all over the place.
There
All
are.
I mean,
Anyone who has Xfinity
I didn't know that.
Wi-Fi is a hotspot.
Can
Really?
you, like,
Yeah.
Xfinity has hotspots in major
Right.
office buildings all over the place.
Yeah,
All you have to
that
put in
too.
is
Wow.
your Comcast ID number, and now you have Wi-Fi. I didn't know.
I didn't either. until-
I think though that's an interesting idea where when we do circulate these, we could look into providing individuals information. Because I think there are probably a lot of people that don't realize there are low-cost options, and I'm sure they much
Or
rather
even
have
sharing it in the newsletter,
Yeah.
right, or other spaces, like on the board.
Right.
I'll get you the
Yeah.
Or
info.
giving a bookmark out with the hotspot. Hey, you can get, because if you're doing that, maybe you don't want to come to the library every 2 or 3 weeks to renew
Right.
it.
I'm sure the people that are, coming back again and again and again, they would love to not have to come back again and again, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's, they're doing it because of necessity, so.
Right.
But it's an interesting idea.
How many Wi-Fi, how many do we actually have total? I remember you
We have,
telling us.
we have 50, regular hotspots, then, Spready, correct me if I'm wrong, it's 50 of the ECF hotspots, and then 50 Chromebooks, which have like Wi-Fi compatibility built in, or
So 150 options.
now we do.
Yeah.
I mean, it costs us
Wow.
thousands of dollars each month. A lot of money
What, for the Wi-Fi?
for the service, for the Wi-Fi.
Is it something that needs to be marketed to the general population more too, so more people know about it?
Perhaps, I think that we've, through our normal promotion channels, we've advertised it, so it's one of those things. And anytime you add a new service, as much as great as social media is, and newsletter is, a lot of times it's word of mouth. Because when we first got them, early on, they weren't circulating very well, and I thought, oh, we just invested all this money and no one's using them, but then people discovered them and picked it up, so.
Ryan, which service and supply, where is that in the budget?
Question, I'm gonna have to do some digging into that one.
Well, Andrea said it was a lot. so-
Electronic service?
It was shocking to me.
Elec-
It was like.
Is it a material or a service?
I
It's
don't,
I think it's like phone bill or something like that.
Telecommunications, I think is what it's under.
yeah, I believe that actually it's under, I think that it was narrative, I think it might actually be under utilities of all things, believe it or not.
Oh.
I can't come to my shared drive right now, let's see if I can figure this out.
Also included in this are telephone, internet, go-to connect, and Wi-Fi hotspot.
Okay, yeah.
But it's not, okay. So of that 200,
What's the breakdown? Like I said,
But if that's overall utilities, I can't imagine actually that the Wi-Fi is that much compared to
But
water.
it's not, I mean, it's not.
It's about 4,500, including the ECF hotspots, Chromebooks, everything, and the regular hotspots are about 2,000
A
Per
month.
month.
A month,
Per month.
the service.
so 6,500 total. Is that what you mean?
It's a lot of money.
No. So 2,000 around is regular hotspots, and around 2,500 is 50
So
ECF
total is
hotspots,
45.
50 Chromebook lines, and 2 router lines that we have. So
Okay.
total 102 plus 50 regular.
Okay.
So if we're, let's say 10 people are constantly having one out, 20% of the ones that we have, that's a lot of money to provide internet for 10 families.
How does that compare to the total cost that we pay for internet service for the library itself?
So we are paying about 2,500 to 2,600 right now for internet every month, which is 2 lines of 100 Mbps but dedicated lines. But we are moving to new internet plan that is kind of changing. So we are moving to 1,600 a month for 300 Mbps, 2 lines DIA.
Okay, that's something I didn't mention, and I should have. That's another way we were able to save money, is that we are getting more, I think it's in the budget narrative, but I did point it out.
Yeah, it's in the narrative.
Yeah, it's in the narrative, but more internet, more bandwidth for less money, so.
I am very impressed with somebody.
That's not me.
Libraries providing internet access is not exactly earth-shaking. It's almost foundational to what we do. So I don't see a problem with that in general. Optimizing how we spend it makes sense.
I see a problem when someone is basically making, whether it's a book, and they want to check out all this book all the time for themselves, or whatever it is, and they're monopolizing something that's for everyone and making it their own personal thing by churning it. Whether it's, let's say it was all the books that had, children's books with rainbows in them, and 2 families took turns checking out all those books and monopolizing the books so nobody else could have those books. It's when people make personal possession out of public materials by always having it checked out, no matter what it is.
But if it's not hindering other people from having access, is it really that
But
much
we're
of an
either spending
issue?
more than we should because they've made it their personal thing, and we don't have to spend that extra 20%. Or do we buy, we've got a very tight budget. We can't have something for somebody to make their personal use entirely.
Can you place a hold on it?
Yeah.
You can?
Mhm.
Which then you can't renew it.
Right, so that's, well, you can't, that is the
You
the
can
thing,
renew?
so.
But I thought you can't renew an item.
No,
if
if there's
it's
a hold on it, you can't renew
Yeah,
it.
There's a hold on
That's
it, right.
Yeah.
But there's not, yeah.
So if someone has put a hold on it and somebody turns one in, then they can't renew it if
Correct.
there are no others to go out. Right?
Or if you've got, like, when we were bringing up our kids, we had 5 people, 5 library cards. Boom, boom, boom. That family could always have one.
I think what Kathy tried to say in her comment was, because the hold is only for 1 week, so, and we have enough number of hotspots, the next time someone tries to come and renew it, because there is a hold on it, they have to go for some other hotspot, and they cannot continue with their own line. So we do,
Right.
seems like we do have enough hotspots, but they have to come in and make the swap for the next one, and if we change it to 3 weeks, they won't have to come in and make that swap. Plus, we'll have 50 more ECFs.
Yeah, and it's also good for patrons because they have to go through that process, and it's good for staff because it's staff time to make that swap. So that's why we're advocating the change to, from a week to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Anyone have anything else to add that we haven't already said?
ECF are going for 6 weeks. Changing ULs.
The only comment I'll make, and I don't know what you think about this as well, Andrea, we're talking about going from 1 week to 3 weeks for this particular service. That seems a big jump to me, especially when most of our other physical objects we check out, telescopes, etc., are 2 weeks. It seems like that
Magazines.
would make, seems like 2 weeks would make more sense for this category, but I trust our staff has done their research.
I think if we want to make an informed decision, we need to have facts and data. And it's all kind of very anecdotal now, so it's hard to say one way or the other. We don't know who's checking them out or for how long or what's available. Plus, we got 100 more. So I would maybe suggest we keep it as written, but maybe we can put in a plan where we monitor it for the next 3 months and get the data.
And I think you're right, but the problem with that approach is that, we're a public library where we value our patrons' privacy. We don't collect data on people's usages of our materials.
But you don't have to track it to a person, right? We can just track how many are here available, and if you come in, I'll put a tally for you had it another time. It's not linked to any person at all.
Yeah.
Like, don't we have that information when we cull the stacks? We know if the book's been checked out in the last year. It's
Yeah, I
just
mean-
how many times has it
But
been?
not by the same.
So you're wanting to run a report to see on a given
Consecutive.
window, how many of those items are available? I think we could probably do that.
Or like a
Without-
consecutive,
Yeah.
you should be able to.
In the meantime, for the sake of getting those ECF items, out there in circulation, could the board consider adopting the policy? If you want to make the change to 7 days in the Wi-Fi hotspots, or leave it as such, that's fine. But let's move forward with the ECF so we can get those out.
Yeah.
ECF stands for?
Emergency Connectivity Fund. That's the
Oh,
grant that we
gotcha.
received to acquire these
Okay, we go
items.
with that now.
I'm fine with it as written.
Yeah, me too, for right now, and then we can.
Yeah,
Look
I
at
say
it
we go with it
again.
as written, and then we monitor and see if.
Well,
we
as
see
written,
any-
does that increase the?
Increases from 1 to 3 weeks.
I would like to amend it to leave that part as is, and the past, are they mutually exclusive? I mean, if we keep the hotspot at the 1 week, can we still get the ECF?
Those hotspots would be 6 weeks regardless. 'Cause they're coming in as part of that grant, that's a requirement for it. And that seems like a big disparity, one group of them out for 1 week, one
Well,
group
when
out
do we
for
get
6
the
weeks.
hotspots?
We got 'em.
We have them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just
Yeah.
want to get them out.
Put them out.
So those ones have to be for 6 weeks?
Yes.
And then almost identical thing is 1 week?
Literally the same device.
Sort of like the books that you can only,
Right.
bestsellers.
7
Yeah.
days.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Well, I think that sounds like a good idea. Some are 6 weeks and some are 1 week, so that some people can have them long-term while other people, like, I'm going on a trip at the end of July and I would really like one. It's a great
So-
idea.
So do patrons know that one would be a shorter time frame and then one is?
Well, yeah, because with the ECF, you've got to sign, there's a form that you need to sign, and
But do
the
they
terms,
ask,
yes.
how do they know to ask for it?
Well, we haven't rolled it out.
We have
It's clear?
yeah, it's a process, yeah, we spent a lot of time getting it
No, I
organized, so,
know that,
yeah.
I'm sure. I
Yeah.
just wonder if somebody from the public walks in and says, I want a hotspot.
Right,
So, and you just hand one and they,
Yeah,
do
it's
they know
incumbent-
that there's one that's 42 days and one that's 7 or?
well, it's incumbent upon staff to get informed
To
of their
give them
options, yeah.
information, okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Okay, so
Oy,
So-
where are we?
I say we leave it and then we can think about it.
So what exact, just so I'm clear, what exact data does the board want to know about the existing hotspots that you want to know
How many are available
any given day?
I think, Ryan, the big concern is we want to make sure this is a service we're providing for the whole community. And so we want to make sure that it's being checked out, but it's not something that we are so short of that people come in and can't find them.
Okay. Anything else? In terms of data that is, that we can
So
collect
there's-
anyway?
Can't do some things, right?
I guess my question to the board is, there's 50. If it comes back that there's only 1 or 2 available, like, we can have this conversation now. Like, if there's only 1 or 2 available, does that mean it's too low? If there's 10 or 5, because we know the denominator's 50, right? So we should be able to figure out, like, what's a threshold where you could move it out to 3 weeks or not.
And how many people ask and, you know, they need it because they are leaving, or they need it because their Wi-Fi went out and they need to work, and they come to the library and there aren't any. How many are turned away? It's not that they want to get on a hold list and get it in a week or two. They need it now because some sort of Wi-Fi emergency has happened. How many are turned away?
But you could know by.
That's the real thing that I'm interested in.
But by like inventory by day, right? If you always
Yeah.
have 5 every day, then
Yeah.
nobody.
Then nobody's
know.
going to be turned away.
If there's 1 every day, then I would be more nervous about that because you're depleted.
Right.
Well, but won't the new hotspots change all that anyway?
Well, yeah.
If we're
Good
adding
point.
Yeah.
CF
Well,
hotspots,
they
there's gonna
would
be a
change-
whole
Thank you,
pool
Wendy.
of
Yeah.
additional ones that are available.
So then it's 100.
So then, yeah. then
But they
that's
may
a good-
change it in the short term as more and more people find out about it.
Yeah, and we deal with it.
I mean,
now.
we can't afford an unlimited number of these, they're very
But we
expensive.
don't know that that's the case right now. So
We
I think
don't
we
know.
need to find out for sure if there's still every day some available or not. That's-
Okay, so what we're saying is we want staff to check and see how many are available on any given day.
Right.
And anything else?
Yeah, and
That's
if
it.
people are there days where there are none available and somebody comes in and needs one right away?
We'd have to check our average hold
Well,
times for
isn't that,
No, they're
then
not.
that day it's 0. That's how many are available.
But
on
if there's
zero.
0 and nobody has an emergency need for one, I'm not talking about on hold,
Oh, I
I can
see
wait
what
2
you're
weeks.
saying.
I'm saying, I have got a Wi-Fi emergency, you know, I've got a job interview in 2 hours and my Wi-Fi's not working. Let me go get a hotspot. You don't need it in a week, you need it in 2 hours.
Or you could come to the library and use one of your meeting rooms and do your.
I mean, we could track it if patrons volunteer that information, but if someone comes in, maybe that's an emergency, then maybe they're like, do you have a hotspot? And staff says no. Staff's not gonna say, well, why do you need it? Because that would be an invasion of privacy.
No, but
But anytime
I
there's
think
a
she's
0.
just saying, if someone comes and there
Right.
isn't one, that's
No,
another piece
no,
of.
no, it is. I'm just saying that we cannot,
Ask
no,
I
I'm
mean-
not asking you to ask
Determine
me
Okay.
why.
why.
She's not
just
asking.
clarifying, okay.
Well, they'll say, do you have a hotspot?
No.
But you could get on the hold list. No, that's no good.
Well, we can just assume any day there's 0, that's
That could
unacceptable.
happen.
Right.
And that happened.
Because we're adding all these now, so let's wait
Okay.
and see what happens. Right?
No, that's good.
And then we
that
can
sounds good.
pass this as it is.
Yeah.
I would
think we
agree with
should. We need to have some policy in place now.
Okay. Who wants to make the motion?
I move that the board adopt policy 3020 as presented.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Okay, page 43.
Annual meeting schedule. Do you want to talk about it, or?
No, you go ahead.
Just basically, it's all in the memo. We did do the double check. Specifically, Gina did a great check of the various dates. And it's kind of unorthodox, but I saw 2 conflicts in October. Yom Kippur, which is it's certainly a day we should avoid holding a meeting. And then there's also the Illinois Library Association Annual Conference. So basically what I'm proposing, and I have to attend, I could theoretically attend and get back for a meeting, but since we're moving one meeting anyway, it made sense to push them back a week. We would have some back-to-back meetings. I think that would make the October regular meeting, the November, the whole back-to-back. And then moving up the December regular meeting to December 13th. Yes, that would mean back-to-back meetings in December, but that would avoid both Hanukkah, and then I thought December 20th was very close to the Christmas holiday, and I just thought and Joe and I talked about this, and we were in agreement that we could just avoid any potential conflicts around December, and that's also a time when people will start coming into the office to file their papers for library trustee. So it would be good not to have a meeting at the same time, so we could focus on that.
And
Thoughts?
many of you are filing those.
Oh, boy.
All right, questions, comments?
Is that agreeable, everyone? I know that's adds some back-to-back weeks, which may not be ideal. Does anyone have a problem?
Back-to-back in October and December.
Yeah, well, the October regular and November committee of the whole would be just 2 weeks in a row.
Got it.
Okay, I move that ordinance 2021 2022-8 annual meeting schedule for FY 22-23 be approved as presented.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Do we need a roll call for this?
Yes,
Do we need
for the
a-
others.
Okay, we do?
Yes.
Yeah.
Arnold,
Aye.
Sutton,
Aye.
Hamilton,
Aye.
Flores,
Aye.
Farkapisi. Aye. Katsinis,
Aye.
Beckwith,
Aye.
ayes have it.
Okay, transfer to special reserve.
Yeah, so for new trustees, this is typically the last ordinance of the fiscal year, and the idea is that if you've accumulated funds, you can, at the end of the year, you can roll them into your special reserve fund to be used for special reserve fund purposes, such as our major capital projects, as we discussed. So we have calculated we're able to roll over $600,000, which is reflected in the budget. That if you look at the budget, you see that we're projected like that. So assuming the board passes this ordinance, that's what will happen. So, any questions about this? The purpose of this? Does this make sense to everybody?
We do it every year?
Yeah, I mean,
Every year so far.
assuming we have some money left over at the end of the year, yeah.
Let's hope we do it every year.
We do,
Yeah.
and we do a good job, so.
Okay. Any further discussion? Who would like to make a motion?
I will. I move that ordinance 2021-22-9, transfer to the special reserve fund, be approved as presented.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Adrian?
Katsinis,
Aye.
Flores,
Aye.
Farkapisi. Aye. Hamilton,
Aye.
Arnold,
Aye.
Sutton,
Aye.
Beckwith,
Aye.
ayes have it.
Okay. You want to talk about the July meeting?
Are you waiting? Yeah, the board discussed a few weeks ago that if we were able to get a budget passed this evening, which the board did, we would consider postponing July committee of the whole, because it is what is it, the July 6th?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So,
You mean canceling it or
Cancel.
postponing?
canceling.
Canceling it,
Now,
but really,
there-
we're just postponing all
Yeah.
the work till the regular meeting.
Yeah,
We're
and
not
there are a
moving it
number
to
of
another
board.
day.
No, that's correct.
There are a number of board policies that will need to be discussed. I think, though, that we can, and if nothing else, we can start the discussion and then continue them the next month. I don't think there's anything on here that is pressing in terms of if those policies didn't get updated, that we'd be in bad shape, so.
Ryan, I probably wouldn't bring new policies
Yeah, and not the,
into the regular. I would bring them to the August
you remember in August, okay.
community, or, yeah. What do you think?
I think that makes sense, yeah.
It delays it a month, is that?
Yeah.
But they'll,
I don't think
there's
there's
gonna be
any-
back
I
and
forget the three that are the new ones,
flag, charity collection, local author collection.
right, so.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything there
timing of that
that's
isn't critical,
pressing,
right?
yeah.
No. Okay.
Okay, who wants to make this motion?
I move that the July 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting be canceled.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Okay, items for the July regular meeting. Okay. All right, where are we now?
Oh, we'll put the financial statements on the July regular meeting.
Yeah,
So, because they're quick, they
I
can,
think,
I don't want
they're
to
not
involve in
listed
them.
here? Yeah, it's there.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can do, add June in the fiscal year, maybe we can squeeze June in, we'll see.
And then these three, we're gonna put these TBD ones,
August. committee.
August.
Wendy,
August.
succession planning's on there. Did we want that?
No,
Jill.
we talked about doing on the committee of the whole in August.
We're just pushing everything.
August is gonna, at least take.
Okay, and any other additional items? What?
For the committee of the whole in August, can we get a report? I see a lot of dead bushes.
Oh, I was just gonna bring
On
it
the
up there.
side.
Yeah,
I
5
mean,
of them I
Are
counted.
they still under warranty? Will they be replaced or?
Yeah.
Because
The
there's
rest
some
of
on the
it-
side and there's some in the front.
There's 5 in the front, I counted this morning.
And there's like 3 or 4
You're
on
talking
the
about
side.
the new
The new-
landscaping dead
yeah.
bushes? Okay, yeah.
The rest of it looks great, really.
Yeah,
lush.
but then we've got these like dead
Dead-
tumbleweeds.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah, Bonnie and I noticed it when we
yeah,
came in.
yeah.
I can bring milkweed seeds.
Bring what?
Milkweed seeds.
I've got some in my backyard, waiting for the butterflies.
I know.
Okay, any other further agenda items? All right, I move that the board enter into executive session 5 ILCS 120/2C1 to review the performance of a specific employee of a public body. I'm sorry?
With executive.
With
That's my fault.
executive director Livergood present. I don't know why I can't remember to say that. Okay, it is 8:32 and we are back in session. Anyone want to speak in public forum? Anyone have any announcements other than what's in here? Who would like to move to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Thank you. It is 8:32.
Very quick.
Anybody who votes no gets to stay there.